Welcome to the eForms video tutorial series. In this tutorial, we will be looking at an overview of the eForms as well as their security features. For the purpose of this tutorial, we will be using the e-discharge form to demonstrate the form features. Our eForms are designed to be interactive, intelligent, and to perform basic checks to make sure certain information has been provided on the form. However, there is a difference between basic checks and proper legal advice. The intent of these forms is not to take the place of legal advice, as the forms do not have the ability to legally verify the content provided. They simply ensure that the required sections have been completed. For example, they cannot advise you if the property is homestead, but will assist you in the proper wording of the evidence. The eForms will make sure a title number has been provided if required, but will not check a title number to see if the information is correct. Let's start by looking at some of the general guidelines for completing our eForms. The first thing to make note of is that any field that requires a title number or an instrument number will also require a land title's district number. This is the number that follows immediately after the slash. If you do not enter a slash and district number, a notice will appear telling you that an error needs to be corrected. As you can see, you have now added the land title's district number and no error comes up. In boxes that require other types of information, you have to choose the options that fit the file you are working on. For example, in box 1 of this form, if you check off an individual, a number of things will happen. The box expands to give additional fields to provide relevant information. This name will also automatically appear on the signature page. We will discuss more on the signature pages later in this tutorial. In some cases, selecting additional options will expand additional fields or provide useful tips. Here you can see if you check off individual has a joint interest holder, the form will remind us to attach a death certificate. These types of tips are located throughout all of our eForms. The I symbol has been included on the form to indicate useful information. You may also notice a plus and minus icon in some of the boxes. When you see this option, it indicates that you can add or remove additional fields. In this example, you can add an additional name field if there are two interest holders on the instrument. If you change your mind, you can remove the second name field. Keep in mind, however, that in most cases, where the plus icons are available, a minimum of one entry is required. There are two different types of option buttons used in our eForms. As you can see in box 1, there is currently a check mark, whereas in box 3, there is only a radio button. There is a significance to the difference between these two types of option buttons. When an option has a checkbox, this indicates one of two things, depending on the context. It can indicate that more than one selection may be chosen at one time. For example, I can have individual interest holders, but I may also have a corporate interest holder in box 1. It can also indicate that no choice is required at all, but a selection may be made under certain circumstances. For example, you would only check power of attorney if one is being used. When radio buttons are present, this means that only one option may be selected at a time. For example, in box 4, an instrument cannot be assigned and not be assigned at the same time. Now let's look more closely at mandatory fields. As we have demonstrated above with the title number, some errors in the form will provide an immediate check. Other errors will only validate once you attempt to lock the form. For example, if you leave the email address blank in box 5, an error will come up when you attempt to lock the form. The field containing the error will be highlighted so you can easily identify it. Notice that the empty description field is not highlighted. This is because the description field is an example of an optional field. If you want to print a working copy of our eForm before fully completing it, you can do so by selecting the Print Draft option. Please note that there are no signature pages created at the draft stage, and drafts will not be accepted for registration. If you print a draft copy, at the top of each page you will see a display text. This is a draft copy. You also have the option to save the form and continue filling it out later by choosing the Save option from the File menu. If you have completed the form properly and are ready to continue, you can select the Lock Form and Create Signature Pages option. As the wording suggests, this will lock the form so that no more changes can be made, and it will create the necessary signature pages. There are 4 security features that are created at the bottom of each page once the form is locked: a control image, a control barcode, a control number, and the number of pages. The security features ensure that every party to the document has seen the same version and no pages have been replaced or altered. The document can be easily reassembled by making sure all of the security features on each page match. Please note that all submitted forms must contain matching control images and control number on all pages, or they will not be accepted for registration. If you realize you need to make a change to the content page, you can unlock the form and make the changes, and then relock it. However, if you unlock the form, any information inserted into the signature pages is lost, and those pages become invalid. A warning will come up to remind you. Notice how the security features have changed. It is important to point out that the pages will be numbered based on the content and security pages. As you scroll through the document, you will see the bottom of each page will tell you how many content pages there are. The signature pages are also numbered and named. This feature will make reassembling your documents easier. Just make sure all of your security features match and that you have all of the numbered pages. When you are ready to print your final version of the e-form, keep in mind that it is now formatted to fit an 8.5 by 11 size paper and no longer needs to be double-sided. It's up to you. Remember, you can save the form at any stage of completion, including after it has been locked. This allows you to send the form to another location for completion. This may be useful when another party to the transaction has to complete part of the form, or if you are not sure who will be executing or witnessing the document. This completes the tutorial on the overview of the e-forms and the security features. Don't forget to look at other video tutorials for more tips and tricks.